Hi everyone, this is Jessica Canty. I am your life and career strategist. We are excited to be able to do a live resume review. I've got my handy dandy resident resume expert over here with me so that we all can talk about a resume. Welcome you all. Thank you all for joining us. Is that you, Angel? If that's you, say it's me so that we can review your resume. You all, thank you for bearing with us through these technical difficulties. So we want to make sure we get started on reviewing this resume. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about who I am. I'm a life and career strategist. What does that mean? That means I help people go from unfulfilled jobs to their dream careers. And I do so through the different pillars that are offered through Proverbs 15:22 Personal Growth Coaching. And one of those pillars are what we're going to focus on today, which is that resume and interview incubator. Okay. And so we've had some people send in resumes, and there's still time for you to send in a resume. And one of the first resumes we're reviewing is going to be today. So you all get to hear us communicate with the person who sent in the resume so that she can hear our critiques. In the meantime, we're going to talk a little bit about some of those guiding principles to get that resume out of the consideration pile and onto that HR professional's desk to be passed on for interviews. So we are trying to patch Angel in. In the meantime, we're going to go get started on looking at her resume. So Angel, if you're in here, because I couldn't quite find you, dear heart, let me know by saying, hi, it's me. And you can also request to join the live so we can make sure that you have an opportunity to ask any questions so we can answer them for you. Okay. So between our conversation, you may see the camera pass back and forth between myself and Capucine, who is our resident resume expert. So you can get some wisdom from us on how to make sure that this resume lands you in your dream career. Okay. So I'm going to try one more time to patch Angel in. Okay, you all. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And again, Angel, if you are on here, make sure you say, hey, it's me, so that I can make sure I connect with you so that you can ask any questions that you may have. Okay. So Angel sent in a resume. And we're just going to call it by the first name because no identifying information. And she sent us a resume, and there was a couple of things that we wanted to ask you and give you an opportunity to ask us. Welcome you all. Thank you all for joining. One of the first questions that Capucine and I had for you is, what position are you applying for? Now, that may seem like a simple question, but it's the guiding compass, if you will, for how to formulate your resume. Okay. And so if you're not clear on what position you're applying for, your resume won't speak to that position. So we really want to make sure that you are clear on what position you're applying for. What happens a lot of times is that people will try to make a resume a one size fits all. And it's not a one size fits all. Okay. You have to, if you're applying for multiple positions, each resume that you create should reflect the position that you're applying for. So you're going to have multiple, Happy New Year to you all too. You're going to have multiple resumes for the different positions that you're applying for. So that's our very first question and tip for you, Angel, is what is it that you are looking to apply for? What is that dream career? And then we can kind of fine tune it even more. So if you're seeing this on a replay or on my YouTube channel, make sure that you reach out to me because we can get on a call and discuss a little bit further about how we can help you. Okay. So that's the first bit of wisdom we want to share with you is to be very, very clear on what it is that you're applying for. Now, the reason why we're saying that, and Capucine can kind of join me in that, is because we see a lot of different...
you have a wealth of experience.
Absolutely.
Here, a wealth of experience. But it's in myriad different professions. Mm-hmm. And the focus is on, here's all the things I did at that position, in my experience. And your focus should be on, I've got the skill for this particular profession. I have selected this path, and here is everything all the expertise I have for the position that you're applying for. Now, you may have retail experience, you may have administrative experience. That's wonderful. But is it a retail position you're applying for? Is it an administrative position you're applying for? Is it a management position you're applying for? If it's one of those, you focus on that particular job skill. You focus on, here are the myriad things. Oh my gosh, we have Mr. Rogers at the door.
So while Capucine addresses that, we'll continue on our conversation and our resume review.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
We'll continue on our review. So like she mentioned, you want to make sure your resume is tailored to the position that you are applying for. So one of the things I noticed about your resume is I feel like you're selling yourself short. You are incredibly talented and gifted. And I can tell that by your the employment experience section of your resume. What I see here is that you have over 14 years of experience. And to members of the audience who are experiencing the same thing, a lot of times people want the HR representative to get all the way down to the bottom of their resume to figure out how many years of experience you have. And if you do that, you're already putting yourself in the, like as we like to say, the X-Files, which is that garbage can. Mm-hmm. So we want to make sure that your resume goes from an HR person's desk to the interviewer's desk. Here's a bit of a trivia for you all. How long does the average HR representative look at a resume for consideration? Anybody know the answer? How long are they going to look at your resume to consider whether or not it's going to be passed on? Anybody know the answer? I'm going to give a few seconds to see if you all know that answer. Anybody know that answer? Okay. Welcome. The average HR representative looks at your resume for 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. And so in that short amount of time, yes, you are so right. You're so right. For 30 seconds. Thank you all for participating in that crowd position question and answer portion. So when they're looking at your resume, you've got to grab their attention in that 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. You may have a wealth of experience, but they're not going to pay attention to it if you can't grab their attention within 30 seconds. So Capucine's going to talk a little bit about what we see in your professional profile, mm-hmm. which we like to call your highlight reel. Mm-hmm. Your highlight reel. A lot of sports people or people who are in sports get that. Or if you ever watch sports, you get that professional athletes have a highlight reel. Mm-hmm. It showcases their victories. It showcases their unique gifts and skills. It showcases how they're a different quarterback than the other team. How they're able to be a point guard better than the next point guard. And so that's what needs to happen at the very top of your resume if you're going to choose this particular format. We want to highlight that. So she wants to give you a little bit of an assessment of your particular highlight reel.
Okay. So in your highlight reel, you have to think like that HR person. When they think of what they need to move that resume forward, they're thinking, how much experience does that person have? So, as Jessica mentioned, how many years as a seasoned professional do you have? Tells that person whether or not they're going to move it forward. Okay? So, that shouldn't be at the bottom. That should be right at the top. I'm a 10-year IT professional with agile methodology experience. I'm a 5-year administrative assistant with experience with Microsoft Word and Excel and Access, and the complete Microsoft Office suite. That's your highlight reel. You're talking about that you have these skills and you've been doing them for this long, and you have your team-oriented, dedicated, self-starter, those keywords, those buzzwords that jump off your resume right off the bat that says, they're like the HR person has two piles. Okay, now those two piles are move forward, and that other pile says toss out. You want to be in the move forward pile. Okay, so in that professional profile or that qualification summary, you're highlighting those things. That highlight reel says, I've done this, and I've done that for this many years. And it focuses on what you're applying for. So it all goes back full circle. Am I looking to be an entry-level data analyst? Am I experienced data analyst? Am I moving out of the retail field into the professional field? And I want to say that. So remember back old school, they had said, what's your objective? Okay. You don't have to state that your objective. You have to state what you want, and in the modern terms, by saying, I bring this to the table, therefore I can do this for you. Okay? That's what you want to do. And that has to jump off right off the bat. And you have to decide who your audience is. Is it the corporate sector or the public sector? When I say corporate sector, I mean companies outside of the federal government. Corporate sector are companies outside of the federal government. Public sector is the federal government. Okay? Federal government. All right? So your position has to use the lingo of both of those.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay, so you're speaking a little different, and depending on who your audience is.
Absolutely. And as Capucine and I were reviewing your resume, one of the things we wanted to make sure that we brought to your attention is that, and this is for anybody that's listening, a lot of times people will use their highlight reel, and even though it needs to be short and concise, it needs to wow. So here's a tip. For some people, it's easier to write out all their experience and then pull common themes from that to create their highlight reel. Or you might be the person who it's easier to create the highlight reel and then make sure all your experience backs up what you wrote in that top section of the resume. So it just depends. But here's another little caveat to that as well. About 2 weeks ago, Capucine and I did a conversation about applying for government positions. And she highlighted the fact that you want to pull in the words specifically from that job announcement. So you want to make sure if you're applying for a position like that, or the specific keywords that they have for that particular profession, that you include in your highlight reel. Because a lot of times, before it even sees human eyes, the computer's already scanning for certain buzzwords. So we're really talking about there's a lot of hurdles to get your to get that interview. The first may be the database itself, then the HR representative, and then the next person who's going to interview you. Right. So you want to make sure that captures their attention. And specifically for you, Angel, we look down at your employment experience, and boy, are you selling yourself short.
Most definitely.
The most recent, the furthest experience was in 2006. You've had 14 years of experience. 14 years of experience. What does that mean? That means you are capable of leading others.
Right.
At this point, you should be in a management position based on your experience here. But if you are not able to highlight those skills, they're not going to suggest a position for you. Right. So your resume has got to show them, I am stellar at what I do, and I've done this for over 14 years. A lot of times, some people aren't even in school for 14 years. So you have got the wealth of wisdom and education to be able to be in a management position. So we want to make sure that you're highlighting that.
And if I may also add, certifications are important. Okay, and I think I mentioned that in our previous talk. And if I can get specific, you mentioned that you have a Microsoft proficiency certification. Now, that doesn't jump off this page. I had to come all the way down to the bottom and look at that. Now, today, technology, you have to be technically proficient. That's not up in your highlight reel, and it should be. I am a Microsoft certified professional. And that means I have experience using the full Microsoft suite of applications. Today, if you have that skill set, don't put it at the bottom. You put that, you can elaborate on it in your computer qualifications, but at the top of your resume, that should jump out. That's another thing that should definitely jump out. Now, I want to take you back old school. There might be some people in my age group, see the gray on here, that know what KSA means. And if you don't, I'll tell you. KSA is knowledge, skills, and abilities. Back in the dark ages, before the algorithms were built to review your resumes on, and not only did USA Jobs use those algorithms, but Monster uses them, and the other resume folks, they use those algorithms to look for those skills, those buzzwords. Those buzzwords are called knowledge, skills, and abilities. And if you're thinking what your highlight reel should focus on, that's what they should focus on. I'm a knowledgeable professional. I have these skills. I have these abilities. And that little blurb that you put in your qualification summary or your highlight reel should be focused that way, because that will get that 30-second review to turn into a longer review.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely. And just because we are so excited about your commitment to furthering in your career, we wanted to look at a specific section of your resume. And we like the fact that you broke out the specific skills and talked about the experience that led you to gain those skills. But we feel, again, the language is not going to grab the reader's attention. Right. And so this is where we talk about those 3 T's of resume writing. You want to choose the right tool. It looks like you have the right tool here, and that's depending upon what type of resume you're using. The other thing is we want to make sure that you have transformational language, not task-based language. That last T is looking at transferable skills. Mm-hmm. So if you see this, make sure that you send any questions that you have about this particular thing. But based on whether or not where you're applying, we see a lot of places on your resume where there's some transferable skills that aren't highlighted. Cappy C pointed out that you were a veteran benefits coach. There's got to be some transferable skills in there that you can highlight. We also looked at the fact that you had volunteer experience. A lot of people sell themselves short with their volunteer experience because they don't get paid for it. Mm-hmm. But I can tell you right now that the bulk of my experience I didn't get paid for. I had to pay for it education-wise. I had to pay for it investing in myself and investing in the time it took, but I'm not going to sell myself short. The position I'm in now, the bulk of the experience that got me in the door was through volunteer experience. So don't ever downplay your volunteer experience, however short or however long. If you volunteered at a soup kitchen, you learned something. You volunteered at your local fire station, you learned something. You volunteered at your local, especially for those who are volunteering in faith-based organizations like your local church, your local masjid, your local synagogue. Those are skills that should be highlighted on your resume. Do not downplay them, okay? The thing that we wanted to do, though, was because we were so excited about your commitment and we're excited about being able to talk to you a little bit further, is to look at under your office support. So we're going to rewrite this section for you. As a present from us to you, we're going to rewrite this section for you, okay? So I'll take the first one if you want to take the second one, and I'll take the third one.
Okay. Sounds like
so the first one you wrote, sorting incoming mail, ensuring important documents are organized according to office procedures. That's tasks. Anybody can do that. I can change your name on there and put Jessica on there. That doesn't show how you did it differently. Okay? That's written into somebody's job description, not on a resume, not to get hired. So instead of saying that, what you can say is that you developed a system of communications to address yada, whatever that was. So you developed a system of communications to address. So instead of saying, yeah, you did sort incoming mail, you're not lying, you're highlighting. You're emphasizing it so that you can say, I did this differently. I developed this system where somebody else is going to come behind me and base their work on what I already got started. Because that's transformational. You came into a job and you did something that changed the way they work so that it's more efficient. So I'm going to pass point number 2 over to Capucine.
Okay. So now, your next point said data entry, filing, and scanning various documents. Now, pretty task-based, as Jessica said. But what you want to do is tell them what you did. Not like this. This is how you say it. You say you developed a document repository to facilitate research and execution. Okay? Now, what does that mean? You took and those documents that you scanned and you put them in a repository that's accessible for other people to use to execute office procedures. You understand? You developed the repository. Put those things in the proper chronological order so that other people could go and pull that information. Repository is the key word. Developed, key word. That means you took the skills. Remember that Microsoft certification down there at the bottom that talked about those things, those access databases and things like that? That's what's in there. That's how you show what you did in office support. Bigger and better than, yeah, I filed something. Yeah, I scanned something. No, I developed a repository so that someone else could benefit from it. That's that transformational language that Jessica's referring to.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that last little bit is, it says you identify check payments and ensure they are delivered to appropriate department. No, dear, you oversaw payment processing. Did you catch that? You oversaw payment processing. And those who are on with us, please know that even though we're using Angel's resume, I hope you're looking at your own resume. I hope you're pulling out some of the language that we're using and saying, oh, I need to clean up my resume. And if you're not, and you need some help, feel free to send me your resume because you could be our very next resume review live. If you want some help on your resume, send your resume to Jessica Canty at jessicacanty.com and your resume could be the very next one. We're still getting more in and we're going to still continue to do these to be able to help the general community. But we want to be able to give you an opportunity to chat with us and ask us any questions based on the wisdom that we're sharing with you all today. And just as an extra tidbit before we begin to close out our conversation, because we don't quite know what position you're applying for, we do want to give you some encouragement around your education and certifications. These are phenomenal. My goodness.
Women's empowerment.
Over and over again. That means you invested in yourself. So if you're applying for, say, a speaker's position, or you want to be able to teach a college course on women's empowerment, or you want to be able to teach Girl Scouts how to be young women, you need to have this highlighted at the very beginning. Because see, what I see here is that I see 3 incongruent titles. I see customer service, office support, and caretaking. I can see caretaking and customer service going together, or office support and customer service going together. But it depends on what position you're applying for, which skills you need to highlight. So be very clear on that, on what position. Do you want to stay? Looks like you've got a plethora of retail experience. Do you want to stay in that retail realm, I should say? So you should focus on that customer service and office support and just highlight the skills you learn from caretaking. Don't make that a title in and of itself because it wouldn't apply to the retail realm.
Right.
Okay. So again, I'm going to put my email address here for those who would love to be able to have their resume be reviewed next. I saw some hearts. I saw some love and feedback. So that means we're giving you some information that you enjoy and that will be beneficial to you. If you all have any questions out there based on what we're talking about, please feel free to ask us, because that's what we're here for. We're here to ask any questions. We're here to give any guidance that you may have. And you can always schedule some time with us to talk about how we further can help you. And so be on the lookout. We have our master class coming up. So by way of announcements, we have a couple more resume reviews happening, but there's still space for you. So go ahead and send that to me. We also have a master class coming up. And if you feel like you're in your dream career, it's time to share your experience. It's time to have your very own master class. If you're interested in having your own master class, you can send your resume to Jessica Canty at jessicacanty.com so we can arrange you teaching your very own master class. I think that's it by way of announcements. Captain, do you have any announcements or any tidbits before we go?
One last tidbit.
Okay.
Look at that document and say to yourself, where do I want to go? And if you have been sending this same thing out and not getting anything back, that means this is not on the trajectory that you want it on.
Yeah.
Okay? So, look, some introspection, and it's not a bad thing to find something wrong. It's a bad thing when you don't do anything about it.
Absolutely.
Okay? So always examine, warts and all, examine it and fix it. And come see us so we can help you fix it.
Absolutely. So this part of the message is specifically to you, Angel. Thank you so much for committing to your success. And Capucine and I are excited, and the rest of our team are excited about helping and working with you. So specifically to you, dear, it's time to schedule a call. Because we see some things in here that will give you promotion, higher salary, and we want to help. So send us an email so you can get on our calendar, Jessica Canty at jessicacanty.com. All right, you all. Until next time, see you soon.